Okay, I'd like to call the village board to order for Tuesday, July 23rd, 2024. Roll call, please.
President Kardasky.
Here.
Trustee Service.
Here.
Trustee Paul.
Here.
Trustee Zerbal.
Here.
Trustee Atkinson.
Here.
Trustee Krieger and
Here.
Trustee Flukie.
Here.
Please stand for the pledge. And please remember our men and women throughout the throughout the world in uniform. I'm sorry. I need an action on the agenda. I have no changes.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 5, action on the minutes, open and closed minutes from June 25th, 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve those minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 6, comments from the public must be limited to items not on the agenda, must state your name and address. You're limited to 5 minutes. The board's role is to listen and not discuss the item. Personnel issues cannot be discussed nor individuals named, and the board is not able to take action at this meeting. Is there anybody out in the audience or online who would like to make a comment on items not on tonight's agenda? Anybody that would like to make a comment on items not on the agenda? Okay, we're going to move on. Number 7, written communications and/or announcements. 7A, I'd like to mention is National Night Out. So that is Tuesday, August 3rd, correct?
August 6th.
Oh, I'm sorry, August 6th.
Yep, August 6th from 6 to 9. Just want to thank those host families that were able to do that again for us this year. We have 4 locations, including Sand Acres Park, which is always a fun time there. Also would like to thank Lieutenant Eric Para for organizing this again this year. So please join us Tuesday, August 6th from 6 to 9 p.m.
It's a great time. It's a great time to introduce yourself to all your neighbors and have a good time. Okay, anybody else have any announcements or written communications?
I would like to point out and make an announcement. Upcoming on August 10th is the Ashwaubenon Blast, which we've been holding now since 2015. It's kind of turned into our community picnic. Going to be great entertainment, kiddie carnival going on as well, free swimming going on, 3 different bands. There'll be a car show. So, I just encourage everybody to come on out and have a good time and hook up with your neighbors and do a lot of networking, which typically is happening. So just wanted to point that out again. That's August 10th out at Ashwaubomay Park, and it'll start at 9 a.m. and conclude at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m.
Okay. Any other announcements?
I have one quick one. A longtime resident of Ashwaubenon, and actually I think she might have been the first female trustee, contacted me, had not been to Ashwaubomay Park recently, but had to go there to pick up grandchildren from an event, a swimming event or something, and could not believe how beautiful that park is. And after she picked up her grandchildren, she said she had to drive through it again because she couldn't take it all in on the first swing through, and made it a point to call me. I think she called other people too on the board just to say, wow, we really have great parks here. So kudos to Rex and his department, and made me feel really happy about my district.
Yeah, I was actually last week, excuse me, at an event in Eau Claire for the league, and one of the questions when it first opened up was, if you have to send somebody to something in your community, where would you send them? And that's what I said was, I would send them to Ashwaubomay because it's so special. So, thank you.
Another one, Mary. I want to invite everybody to the meeting at the community center tomorrow night, I believe it is, for the draft.
Businesses.
Pardon?
It's for the businesses.
For the businesses, but just strictly business?
I believe so.
Yeah, we're attempting to just coordinate business owners that live in and around what will be the draft campus area at this time. We will have neighborhood meetings in September. We'll have a series of neighborhood meetings actually at the Performing Arts Center in regards to the draft.
That is
So-
not how I had understood it, because I've been getting a lot of calls on it, and I've been kind of telling them to come to the meeting
We
tomorrow.
may have some extra people attend that.
So,
Do our best. We'll do our best to accommodate them.
Yes.
there's a lot of
yes.
questions that they want to be answered, so, all right, as long as we all understand that, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else? Okay, moving on. Number 8, action on consent agenda. A, receive and accept the July 2024 Public Works Department monthly report. B, Parks, Recs, and Forestry July Department report. C, receive and accept fiscal year 2025 budget timeline. D, receive and accept June 2024 investment report. E, receive and accept June 2024 budgeted expenditures report. F, receive and accept June 2024 financial reports. And that's it. Anybody want anything taken out to discuss, or I need a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Number 9, 9A, public hearing regarding a rezoning request for parcel VA-103-A at the northeast corner of Holmgren Way and Cormier Road from B3 Community Business to VC Village Center. Aaron?
All right, thank you. What I will do is share my screen here, if we could. All right, the requested rezoning, as indicated on the agenda, is for parcel VA-103-A in the northeast corner of Holmgren Way and Cormier Road from B3 Community Business to VC Village Center. The requested rezoning is to facilitate the development of a multi-story mixed-use development on that currently vacant lot, including some retail space, common space, and apartment units. As indicated on the map, you do see these surrounding zoning classifications. Village Center zoning is located immediately to the left, or I'm sorry, to the west of the subject property. B3 Community Business to the south and southwest and to the east, and then P Public Use to the north. When evaluating changing a zoning classification, we do need to evaluate it based upon the comprehensive plan and to confirm that the requested action is not inconsistent. It does sound a little double negative, but that is actually the language that the Wisconsin state statutes do require. The 2016 comprehensive plan for the village, which is currently being updated, does identify the village center area, which this location is in, is to, over time, this district is positioned to become a vibrant multi-story walkable district with a mix of uses including multifamily, residential, entertainment, commercial activity, and public places. The comprehensive plan then further defines certain uses as desirable, allowable, or undesirable within the definitions of each, and as depicted in the comprehensive plan attachment, this type of use is considered to be desirable within the village center area. The Oneida Holmgren Ashland Corridor District is also to the south of this area, and it's also identified as a desirable location for this type of development. And then I will take any questions during the action item portion of the agenda.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience or online that would like to speak for or against this development? Or rezone, I'm sorry, the rezone. Is there anybody in the audience or online who would like to speak for or against this rezone? One more time, is there anybody who would like to speak for or against this rezone? Okay, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Second?
Motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Motion carried. On to action items. 10A, consider, discuss, act on ordinance number 07-1-24, rezoning parcel VA 103-A at the northeast corner of Holmgren Way and Cormier Road from B3 Community Business to VC Village Center. Aaron?
All right, as indicated during the public hearing, this is a requested rezoning of the property from B3 to Village Center to facilitate the mixed-use development, which is coming up next on the agenda for the site plan. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I should mention as well that the Planning Commission did recommend approval of the rezoning at their meeting.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the rezone of, to approve ordinance number 07-1-24, the rezoning of Holmgren Way and Cormier Road from B3 Community Business to VC Village Center on the northeast corner. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. 10B, consider, discuss, act on a site plan review request by Cormier Property Partners LLC for parcel VA-103-A at the northeast corner of Holmgren Way and Cormier Road for a mixed-use development. Aaron?
All right, thank you. I'll share my screen again. And I'll bring up an image of the site plan. This is an overview of the site plan. As you can see, up against Holmgren Way are the two, I guess what we'll call apartment towers. They are 5 stories in height, roughly 58 feet or so underneath the 60-foot height limit for this location. The lighter tan area that you see is actually a first floor covered parking area that's at grade, as well as a patio area for residents of the apartments. We do have a 8-foot wide walking trail around the exterior of the parking lot, a stormwater management pond along the east side of the property, and then an oversized parking lot to accommodate parking not just for the residents of the apartments or the retail space on the first floor, but also additional parking for Capital Credit Union Park Stadium and for Epic Event Center. So what I'll do now is continue on to the renderings to give you a better sense of the buildings itself. I'll leave that up on screen. And the exterior materials are a combination of masonry, concealed fastener metal wall panels, storefront windows, and they do meet our requirements under our site plan review ordinance. There are a total of 152 apartment units planned, including studio, 1 through 3 bedroom units. On the first floor that you see there up against Holmgren Way and Cormier, there's a mixture of retail space as well as in common space for the apartment residents, including lobby space, mail space, workout space, so on and so forth. In terms of the recommended conditions of approval, we do have a few. I'll list those out for the record. As the building is greater than 50 feet tall and with an airport district C, applicant must obtain an application for a height permit from the Green Bay Austin Straubel Airport Director. Approval of a rezoning from B3 Community Business to VC Village Center, which can be checked off tonight. Use of fully concealed fasteners for metal wall panels and cladding. All metal wall panels and cladding are to include a minimum 3-foot masonry wainscot from finished grade. Screen any new rooftop or ground-mounted mechanical units visible from the property boundaries or public right-of-way. The catch-all meet all applicable requirements of the Ashwaubenon site plan review and all other applicable village ordinances. From engineering, submit civil plans to the village engineer for review and approval, and review the February emails, verify the schedule for road restoration to make sure we don't open up any streets in the middle of the NFL draft or preparation thereof. Stormwater management, submit a stormwater management plan to the village engineer for review and approval, and then install and maintain erosion control measures throughout the development process. From public safety, coordinate with public safety regarding placement of FDC or locations and Knox box. From forestry, and actually this one was checked off, about a detailed landscape plan and planting schedule that was included. In terms of recommendations, there's a recommendation from zoning administration to install a decorative fence along the western and southern sides outside of the vision triangle of the stormwater pond. And then from Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee, bicycle parking should meet the standards of the Association of Pedestrian and Bicycle Professionals. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. I should mention as well, again, Site Plan Review Committee and Plan Commission did recommend approval of the site plan with the stated conditions. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, the development team is also in the audience. If you have questions specifically for them.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Okay,
In regard to the parking lot for the development team, is that you gentlemen right up front? I would love to see more landscaping in there. My concern is the expanse of pavement and the safety for the people that are coming and going from there. There is nowhere for them to go to get out of the way. And I think with nothing else in that parking lot but painted lines, you're gonna have people driving all over. If the board can think of the Red Robin parking lot, I don't know if you've ever been in there, that's very similar to that one. And it's just hard to walk through that parking lot. So I realize you have met the standards, but I would love to see more landscaping islands in that to break up the pavement and to make it safer for people to move through that parking lot, because you're gonna have everybody coming at one time and leaving at the same time. So something to consider on that end. The other question is on the access point on Cormier, the one furthest west, so closest to Holmgren. I know the engineering department, I believe, had looked at it as well. But my concern is the closeness to that intersection. And especially, and Brian maybe could talk about this a little bit, but there's that left turn. If you're heading westbound on Cormier, there's a left turn lane, and that, I believe you'll have to cross that. Anybody coming eastbound on Cormier would cross that left turn lane to get into that first driveway. So that's my concern, the tightness of that to Cormier and people crossing that left turn lane to get into that westbound or the west access on Cormier.
Yeah, I mean, I think there'll be some challenges there. The main challenges aren't going to be the daily use of it. It's going to be during the special events, either the Rockers games or the events over at the Epic Center. And I think there's some discussion about making it safer to get across Cormier to the Epic Center as well.
Right.
We've had that discussion already. So, I think that, it's going to be tight, and there's going to be, some windows there. People are going to have some patience with that. Can we make that a little safer? Maybe, depends on how many entries we have off of Cormier there. And whether we want to make those, eliminate that one that's closest. I don't know. We'd have to take a look at that a little bit later.
And I guess the developer, again, to weigh in on that, what your thoughts are, what the need is for the 3 accesses off of Cormier. For Cormier.
Hi, thank you. State your name and address for the record, please.
Derek Liebhauser, 3027 Ridgeway Drive.
Grant Ducat, Excel Engineering, 100 Camelot Drive, Fond du Lac, Wisconsin.
So in respect to the technicalities, how it applies to how the ordinance is written and safety, I can defer to Grant on that. But the reason for the 3 locations, number 1 being egress. So when there's a lot of parking happening on the site, we tried to create an efficient flow of traffic so that everyone can leave in a rather quickly manner and not have everyone bogged down in there, as everyone can relate to when you're stuck in a traffic ramp or something of that sort when you have one exit. It helps us with the flow outward, but also more importantly, the entrance that you're talking to that's closest west on Cormier is dedicated to the retail and commercial space. So those tenants there can have their own access for their customers and their employees as well. So the reason for that being is, we're serving multiple purposes with the parking, being events, the residents, and also the commercial and retail space. So we really took a look at it to try to develop a space where the retail tenants could see that they did have their own dedicated entrance and exit and also their own parking.
So one of the things that, as I'm looking at this, that we may have to take a look at is when people are leaving. We may have a conflict there. If you have people leaving that are closest to the retail space and they want to turn left, that could be a challenge. And then if you have people at the middle one that want to turn right, we're going to have people that are coming into each other there, right? So that's something that we're going to want to take a look at and maybe restrict which way they go out of those at events.
Yeah, and also one thing to consider too is, as we're looking at the egress for the large events, when the parking lot is full, is potentially closing down the access from the retail parking lot to the rest of the parking lot, so people can't just turn right into that area and then try to skip forward and go left. So that's definitely a solution that we could look at as well.
Yeah, and I would think that that would be a real smart thing to do. Plus, I'll be honest, I don't think people are also gonna turn that way.
Right.
People are probably gonna go right out those two exits onto Cormier.
Right.
But it still brings up the point that you're saying that they're gonna be doing this.
And if we need to restrict directions by which exits they're going out, that's something we can definitely do, and we'll work with public safety and make sure that's taken care of.
So how many feet does anybody know between the west parking, or the west access point and that next one? Is that 100 feet between there? Does anybody have an idea?
Say approximately 150 feet.
150 feet.
Correct. And to tangent off of what Derek said is the uses of each of these driveways is going to be different, and your peak traffic is going to be at different times for each one of those driveways as well, with the easternmost driveway really focused on the event traffic, and that's something that can be controlled at the release of actual event parking.
Okay. What about the parking lot? Can you guys put more landscaping in there?
It's something that we can definitely take a look at. We spent a lot of time with it and tried to exceed all the minimums. We tried not to do just the bare minimum and to exceed that, so it didn't just seem like an expanse of asphalt. Something that we can take a look at.
I assume you're not having like curb stops or anything in there, it'll just be paint, correct, in what's proposed?
Correct.
So it'll just be a big expanse of pavement?
Correct. And from a logical standpoint in traffic flow event parking, we wanted to be able to get vehicles in and out. They'd likely be all parking in one direction, similar to events in the area, obviously with the Rockers and the Packers and Lambeau in that area. It'd likely be very controlled for that parking environment. So if they're coming in one direction, then coming out the other direction, all parked in the same direction. Islands seem to impede that and can create, impacts to that traffic flow in those areas similar to that. So what we did is we increased some of the size of the perimeter landscaping to really try to encase this area, protect it so that when you're on the outside looking in, you're not seeing that big, large parking expansion. That was our design intent, but we're definitely willing to work with the village on the best implementation.
And the other thing as well is there is sidewalk just to the east of the apartments and also along the entire north and east perimeter of the site. So it looks like there's only about 5 stalls that you'd have to walk across in either direction to get to the closest sidewalk, which gives you quick and safe access to off the site.
Right, yeah. All right, well, if you can look at it again and see if you could put some landscaping in there, I would appreciate it. The other question I have, I saw the bike racks you have in there, which is great, thank you. What about considering one on the north side of the path closest to Rocker Stadium? So you have that 8-foot path on the northwest corner. There's no bike rack at Rocker Stadium, and I don't think there's one at Epic either, but to have a space, I mean, you have 200 some parking spots. If you have a space for people to park their bikes as well, and you may have more people biking to the stadium. Right now, the parking that you have for bicyclists is really in where the residential area is, I would say. So to have something that people coming to the Rocker Stadium or to Epic could take advantage of with their bikes as well, and have a bigger one on the north side of the trail, or the 8-foot path.
I think we do have one right there on that northwest corner.
You do?
Correct. Not just on the side of the apartments, on the
Yeah, just on
northwest
the
corner
north
of
side
the
of
site.
the building.
Okay,
Bike rack.
okay, thank you, I missed that.
I think we have 5 locations for bike rack, correct?
Yeah, I thought I saw 6 in there, but, okay. Another question, and maybe it's for both, where the RRFB is going to be placed on Cormier to help people safely cross from the parking lot, either to the Epic station, or Epic, or back and forth between the two, and who is gonna be paying for that?
So that is something that we're evaluating from a staff standpoint at this time to try to accommodate some of the pedestrian flow back and forth across Cormier Drive, or Cormier Road. We're going to make sure people can safely cross Cormier. I think the rapid flashing beacon and a mid-block cross would be a good way to accomplish that. Have the mast arms as well as the side beacons. At this time, my thought is that this would be through our normal budgeting process in terms of a TIF expenditure, probably starting looking in 2025.
Okay, thank you. Got that. And the trees that are along Holmgren, on the east side of the sidewalk, I would assume are going to be all cut down? Are you gonna save any of them?
Our intent would be to save them. Unfortunately, I believe with the reconstruction of the sidewalk in that area, it's gonna be very difficult to salvage them.
Any on, like further north, can you save any of them? I know the building's probably more on the south end of Holmgren.
I believe there's, taking a look at the plan, there may be one or two on the north side, closer to the Holmgren, the access drive on Holmgren. There may be one or two that we could save up in that vicinity.
Okay. All right, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with staff conditions, but I do think it's a good idea to work with public safety on the flow of traffic exiting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve with staff conditions with public safety working on the flow of traffic. Any other comments, concerns, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, 10C, consider, discuss, act regarding ordinance number 07-2-24, rezoning parcels VA-195-7 and VA-195-9 on Waube Lane from R1 Single Family Residential to R3 Multifamily Residential. Aaron.
All right, thank you. I will again share my screen just to give everyone a refresher on the site. And I'm glad I didn't bring up my face this time. So the requested rezoning is the two parcels as indicated from R1 one-family residence to R3 multifamily residence to facilitate the development of 10 units of basically 5 attached duplexes, single-story development. The adjacent zoning, again, just to refresh folks, we do have R1 surrounding the property, IP Industrial Park to the south across Waube Lane, which of course is County Highway AAA. This is the proposed development. Understanding that if you zone it to R3, this is you're entitling certain uses to that property. But this is what the developer is intending to create, similar to projects he has completed in Pulaski and Oconto. I should mention, I did get a call at 5:30 today, or this evening. The applicant ended up getting double booked. He is not able to be here tonight, and the owner is also out of town. So the applicant was very apologetic to me and to the board. I appreciate his thoughts on that. But I guess we had a number of residents who came out at the public hearing against the requested rezoning. We did address internally, we did review some of the floodplain questions or issues that came up. We did determine that the fill that was placed there was placed legally, so that was not any kind of illegal fill that was done, and the floodplain is not directly impacted by this development. So there's no development in the floodplain. That said, of course, any stormwater impacts are taken care of on-site to the pre-development standard. So I guess at this point, it's really up to the board on how you would like to move forward with action on this rezoning. I'm happy to answer any questions that I can. Of course, I can't answer for the developer, unfortunately.
Okay.
Aaron, has anything other than what you said as far as the buildings itself changed at all?
And I'll just add to that a little bit, Gary. So this is just a rezoning request.
Oh, okay.
So what
Excuse me.
is being proposed here is what they intend to do. However, as you know, if it is rezoned to an R3 district, it does create, as Aaron has mentioned, different entitlements that may extend or exceed what is being proposed. So an R3 district being multifamily, you could see a larger or more dense structure on that property with that entitlement. From a process standpoint, this item has gone through the formal public hearing, which was held last month at the village board meeting. There is not necessarily a need to open the floor for the general public to speak, as you did have a public hearing at the last meeting. However, that is your discretion and your prerogative to suspend your rules and open the floor. I'll leave that certainly up to the board. This is an item that was technically tabled at the last meeting. However, no action was taken at it, and so it was postponed until this month. Even though the applicant is not present, they did not ask to withdraw this item or ask this item to be postponed for another month. So I think they intend and expect the village board to take action on this particular item, either for or against. So that ultimately for the board, you have a decision to make from a use standpoint. Is this an appropriate land use designation change from R1 to R3? So a motion to approve the request would be necessary. If the board feels that this is an inappropriate change in land use designation, then a motion to deny the request would be appropriate at tonight's meeting. I do want to point out a couple of things as it's been requested of us from either members of the board or the general public. This is a simple rezoning request, so the use that is being proposed, the intended use, does fit cleanly within the R3 district. However, if there's a desire to, let's say, Gary, lock in that development, meaning this is exactly what the developer is going to do, then the appropriate process would be to use some type of plan unit development on this parcel. So you could theoretically maintain the underlying zoning district as an R1 district and have the applicant go through a plan unit development process in order to allow this type of use in an R1 district, but by doing so, you would require, village code would require a site plan to be a condition of that approval, which means you can then apply very strict standards to what can be built there. You would not see a 3 or 4 story apartment building, you would only see what was designed as part of the site plan. With that, I give that to you just for the sole purpose of transparency. That is not the topic of discussion for tonight's meeting. If the applicant so chooses to submit an application for that, that would show up at a future meeting. And through the PUD process, there is a public hearing, much like a rezoning. So it'll act and feel similar to a rezoning, but it will have additional steps to it as a site plan would be required to be approved as part of that process. Again, I state that simply for transparency purposes. If the board were to deny the rezoning request tonight, in theory, the applicant could come back next month with that preliminary PUD, and it would basically reinitiate the whole process through a planned unit development effort versus the rezoning. So I want the board to be aware of that. I want the general public to be aware of that, and from a full transparency standpoint, that is a possibility for the applicant to entertain. So with that, I think Aaron and I are available. Aaron's got a couple of things
Just to add on to Joel's comments there. So in addition to the planned unit development process, there is a formal public hearing along with public notification. So just like this last rezoning, all the neighbors would be notified via mail of any PUD process if the applicant so desires to go that route.
And there would actually be an actual meeting on that then, where you bring in all the residents and they can give their opinions at that time too? Up and above our type of meeting here?
So they'd have a formal public hearing required under the PUD. It's up to the applicant if they wanted to hold a separate neighborhood meeting.
Gotcha.
That'd be their call.
Well, my feeling on the project since last month, I've done a lot of thinking about this, and to be quite honest, I'm not in favor of doing this rezoning, and the reason why I'm not is mostly because of the residences just to the west that have their homes there. They're single-family homes. They've been there for a while. They have those homes with the intent that there isn't some new development that's going to be an apartment complex of any site. This project, I think, is a great project. I just don't think it fits with the residents and everything that's already there. The thing that I look at when I'm coming from my trustee's point of view is if I was right next door to this, would I be happy or would I not? I would not. Therefore, I cannot support it, and I would make a motion to deny the rezoning to R3.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to deny the rezoning of parcels VA 195-7 and VA 195-9 on Waube Lane.
Under discussion, I would agree with what Jay said. This is in my ward, and I got a lot of calls from residents, and people reached out to me opposed to the R3. I would agree with Jay to deny R3, but this is a tough parcel, and someday that developer is going to want to develop it, and they may come back, like Joel said, and leave it R1 and go through a planned unit development, which will put more controls on that development and hopefully appease some of the concerns of the neighbors. So, and hopefully it will be developed someday into a nice property for the village. But with that, I would agree with Jay.
I would echo those thoughts. I would agree with what everybody says. We've had several meetings, and I want to thank everybody who contacted us and had you come in, and we had a meeting about it. But I would agree, I don't think that is our one control over what happens with the parcels we do have. And I don't think that rezoning to R3 is a great move, so.
I would also add that I think that the developer, with the way houses are selling in Ashwaubenon right now, he could put a couple single-family homes out there and do quite well. I get it's on Waube, but I'm telling you, the way houses are selling right now in Ashwaubenon, you could put a couple of single families home there and actually probably make some pretty good money.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to deny. Are there any more comments, concerns, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. 10D, consider, discuss, act. Thank you. 10D, consider, discuss, act on appeal of denied operator's license, Ashley R. Josephson. Chris?
Attached is the denial letter, the original application, and a letter from Ashley Josephson, who was appealing her operator license application denial. Ms. Josephson stated she would be present to speak on said denial, and at Public Works and Protection Committee, they denied the request unanimously, and I don't see her here or online. So she said she was going to attend.
I'll move to deny the recommendation again.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to deny the appeal of the operator license for Ashley R. Josephson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. 10E, consider, discuss, act on a premise extension for Blazin' Wings, Inc., DBA Buffalo Wild Wings for Green Bay Packer game days. Chris?
So Buffalo Wild Wings would like to request an extension of their Class B liquor license to include the parking lot adjacent to their building at 2101 South Oneida Street, Suite 101 for Packer game days. They plan on enclosing the area with bike racks. Public Works and Protection Committee did deny the request unanimously because of lack of information. They wanted the landlord letter and confirmation that the other tenants are aware of this event. I know that the person that I have been working with is online, Laura Carlson Heidemann, and I'm assuming you too, okay, thank you. So they are here to answer any questions that you have, and within the packet, I believe they covered everything that you've asked for.
Okay, does anybody have any comments, questions about this?
Well, it had a lot of questions on the safety of it. Chief, you got any comments on this? This is a tough one here.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking earlier that I don't know that this is any different than any requests they've had in the previous years. Usually on Packer game days, it's tough for us to be able to control the noise and that like that from those areas. So I know that's somewhat disturbing to neighbors and other tenants. From a safety standpoint, though, I don't really have any concerns based on what everyone else is doing either.
You don't have, as far as in emergency in and out of there, you don't have anything?
They're just bike racks. They can come out very easily. I don't really have a
Okay,
concern with
all
that.
right, all right. Well, that's one question answered. Okay,
I didn't see anything in here from the other businesses. I know in this email, it says they're planning to be open, but they close early, usually before the end of the game's let out or something like that, but I didn't see actual letters from the other businesses. You have,
We brought hard copies today.
okay.
Could I have your name and address for the record?
My name is Richard Tolbert, 4040 Marion Court, Stevens Point.
Okay.
So I'm the district manager, and this is Jennifer Plata. She's the assistant general manager of the store.
Okay, and I need your address for the record, please.
I'm sorry, Jennifer Plata, 2690 Englewood Road.
Okay,
Had another question. It says in here, the manager says that the parking places are gonna be sold by a third party or something. What does that mean?
So since the day we opened the store, the landlord has a third-party vendor, and they control all the parking on game days. They basically sell it just like a lot of other businesses do around that area. So we have no control over the parking.
But yet he's okay to give up his parking spots for you guys to use?
We are paying for all the parking spots. For every game day, we
Or
are
you're
paying for all of them.
Okay,
Yeah,
I have
they're
a
certainly not giving them to
I
us.
didn't realize.
I have a question for the chief. I did ask you before because I'm down there every Packer game. And it says in here that they're gonna have amplified music. And I said before that there's people down there that have amplified music, and when there's amplified music in other parking lots, this person turns theirs up, and then that person turns theirs up, and then that person turns theirs up, and then that person turns theirs up. And it is extremely annoying. And my question is, if this happens, I know our officers are really busy during a Packer game. What is our course of action? And if it happens too often, what course of action do we have to rescind this?
Normally, well, I don't know about rescinding, but normally how we operate on Packer game days, if there's a noise issue with amplified music, we will go and warn them to turn it down. And then if it becomes an issue again and we get another complaint, then we usually issue a citation after that. Does that always work? No, doesn't always work. Do we always have the time to do that? No, we don't always have the time to do that. We're busy during that day. So yes, that is a concern, and that's understandable.
And I know that this has come before the village board several different times through the years, and it has always been denied. So, anyway. Anybody want to make a motion or discuss anything else, or?
I guess as the chief don't have any problem with it, I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve. Are there any other comments?
The only
Questions?
comment I got is noise, Mary, because I know what you're talking about. I know the residents across the street, they crank them up pretty
Oh.
loud, and it doesn't do nothing for anybody.
Right.
You know.
And that's why I asked.
I can understand music, don't get me wrong.
Patrick,
I'll be happy to address that if you'd like.
okay, just let me ask our attorney one question. So Patrick, what would be our course of action if we have too many complaints about that noise issue?
The applicants can come back before the village board, and the village board could revoke their extension of the premises.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it can, basically driven on complaints, citations, et cetera. If the board feels it's egregious enough where it has violated the municipal ordinances, even on during Packer game days, then yes, it could rescind the license extension, premise extension, then you go back to operating how it is currently right now.
Okay. Okay, sir,
Yeah, the only thing I would say is, the whole point of it, the music really has little or nothing to do with why we're doing this. It's not the crux of it, it's just kind of an added bonus. Volume would never be an issue for us, and we obviously would be in compliance with whatever the village would want.
okay.
Can I just clarify, Public Works members, there were some issues at that committee meeting, and it seemed to me that they answered them all with the information that's here. Are you guys okay with everything that we have that's been provided to answer questions? Okay.
Okay.
I guess I would like to hear, so we've got this T-shaped, what's your intent of how that's gonna lay out?
You're talking about the design of where, so basically, like mentioned, it's gonna be bicycle rack fencing. And we'll put it up for the events, and it'll be taken down immediately. And that's the whole point of it being portable. It's just easy to access. We also have paid security that's gonna be there on these game days as well.
So are you gonna have a bar up at the building and where they can get beverages? Are you
So
gonna
what we're gonna do,
serve
we're gonna have-
food?
we're
Maybe
gonna have a-
serving food out there? What's the
So
plan?
as far as food, for example, we have it's called like a hot box. It's basically, it looks like a big refrigerator. The food's all gonna be made inside, and it's gonna be in a box. We just store it temporarily in the hot box, and it all falls within the health and safety guidelines. As far as the bar, we're just gonna have kind of a makeshift bar that our vendor partners provide for us, and it's gonna be strictly just beer. It's not gonna be full bar. If they want full bar, they have to go into the sports bar.
Okay, and then, tables out there then, for them to sit and eat at?
No.
Tables, okay.
So where this red line is, that does not encompass your front door?
Correct.
Okay, so that people are able to go in and out. It does encompass the side door, which is an emergency exit, is it not?
Yes, and we would actually have that door open on that day. So the reason why we would do that is because that would be our access for workers, just so we're not going in and out of the front doors. That's where we would do our service from.
Okay, but if there's an emergency inside of your building, everybody will be using that, correct? To get,
The door is on a ramp, and the bicycle fencing won't be blocking that ramp at all, so it'll be open into that side exit of the parking lot, so it will always be an open route in case of an emergency.
this shows that it's actually up against the building, so.
Oh, I'm
that
sorry.
was why I questioned it. Okay, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No.
So there's just one no?
Yes.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. 10G, consider discuss act on Ashwaubomay River Trail Extension Bid Award. Oh, I'm sorry. F, consider discuss act on the Green Bay Packers Kickoff Concert 2024 Special Event Road Closure. Chris?
The Green Bay Packers have made a request for approval of the Green Bay Packers Kickoff Concert 2024 road closure. The road to be closed is Ridge Road between Lombardi Avenue and Mike Obinger Way from 4 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Public Safety has approved the proposed route, and a representative will be in the audience. And he's waving. So if you have any questions, he can come up.
Okay, are there any questions on this? I believe
The
that,
only question I got, are the businesses in that area notified of the road closure?
For this event, Nick talked to Francine, and that's never been an issue there because it's mainly PMI, or for this one, yeah, I apologize, I'm thinking of a different one. Yes, they are notified.
Yeah.
could you state your name and address for the record, please?
Yeah, Craig Schilbauer, 3637 Van Lanen Road.
Okay. So they do, the neighbors, the businesses, local businesses and the neighbors are notified about this
Correct. It's really Titletown and those businesses within, so we do it internally. Then we also send out to the neighborhoods the letter to explain to them what we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, this is no different than they do every year in this area. One thing to note that is different is the stage is set farther back into their parking lot, which allows for a greater number of people into the parking lot itself. So I don't know, I guess nobody knows who's singing yet, who the performer's going to be, but
Yeah, I
you know,
wish I
that'll
could
depend
tell
on
you.
who it is.
You can, nobody would know. We won't tell
Nobody would
anybody.
I don't know if it's gonna be that big, but. Yeah,
Taylor
we're
Swift?
still negotiating.
So that will depend on how much, people we have on that area as well. But having the stage set back farther is beneficial for us as well.
And it's the same, this is different than what they do at Titletown. So last year, our kickoff concerts was in the exact same spot, the stage.
So where the stage is, are you gonna allow parking in all that area just to, I guess, the west of that? Or is that left open so people can be there?
Yeah, it's all open for people. So
Okay,
we
so parking
block
is
it off.
further away.
Yeah, we block it off where you enter from the plaza down below. And then on that, it would be the south side there. And people can park on the other side, but for the most part, that's just for
people.
that come in.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, if I remember right, years ago, you used to block off Armed Forces Way and have the concert there and didn't block any roads off other than Armed Forces.
That was for the Super Bowl, and that was done through the league. We started this will be our 7th year, not counting COVID.
Oh, this has nothing to do with,
No, but we did, towards the end, started blocking off Oneida between, Armed Forces and, Holmgren, or not Holmgren, McCarthy, just as a safety precaution for the crowds that we were getting.
Okay, any other questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
A second.
Motion and a second to approve the road closure, special event road closure for the Green Bay Packers Kickoff Concert 2024. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
10G, consider, discuss, act on Ashwaubomay River Trail Extension Bid Award. Rex.
Okay, this is the next phase of the Ashwaubomay River Trail. This is around the exterior of Ashwaubomay Park, including behind Ashwaubomay Lake, along the south border of the park, adjacent to New Water, ending at the boat launch area. Bids went out in June, and we had 2 bidders. Bids were opened last week on Tuesday. Low bid was at $589,000. That was by Highway Landscapers. A little bit more than we expected. We were hoping for under 5. So with that, talking with the bidders that were at the bid opening, we were hoping to get this out earlier. Obviously, it did not happen as we had hoped. But talking with the bidders, they said if we were to rebid in December, with an award being made very early in 2025, chances are good that the bids would be able to come in lower. And on top of that, our guess is that we would hopefully have a couple of more bidders as well. With that information, discussion at the park board meeting last week, recommendation was made to village board for rejection of the bids with a rebidding process, again, closer to the holiday season, over through December into very early January, with another look at it at the park board and village board level in January of 2025. So recommendation to the board this evening is to reject the bids as they were given and to rebid it later on in the year.
Rex, are you wanting to have that done for the 25?
I'd like to have it done next. I mean, I would love to have had it done. It pains me to reject anything, with a park project, because I'd love to keep on moving on this project. But we're good with doing it in 2025. That's fine.
All right, I'll move to reject the bids for the River Trail extension.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to reject the bids for the Ashwaubomay River Trail Extension. Any other comments, questions? They had a great discussion on this at Park Board. I thought you did a great job on that, so everybody understood it well. Okay, we have a motion and a second to reject the bids. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. 10H, consider, discuss, act on the replacement of the utility emergency communication system. Brian Rickard.
All right, so with this one, I can really get into the weeds, or I can kind of just hit it high level. I'm gonna hit it high level, and then if you have any questions, I can dive into the weeds. But essentially, there's two communication systems, or used to be two communication systems, that allows us to remotely monitor our water and sewer system. With those two communication systems, they used to be both two copper telephone lines. With those lines being no longer supported, we've been made aware from the vendor, who's TDS, that we essentially need to get off the lines and look at alternative solutions. So we've now reverted to one of the ways of communication is through internet. So we use that to communicate through software with our SCADA system. But to have redundancy in the system, so say the internet does go down, we're looking to install a cellular backup. So essentially it'd be a cellular call out or cellular dialer that can communicate with our water utility to let, and you know, say there's a water tower that is purging water or whatever, you know, whatever might be occurring, it pretty much alerts whoever is on call that there's issues within our system. Reason that this is in front of the village board is it kind of got sprung on us earlier this year, so it was not formally budgeted for, but there will be money left over from our Glory Tower painting that we could potentially look to reallocate this way, or we could use money from our general operational budget. So.
You looking at $11,000?
Yeah, I think it's like 11,900, but I put in the memo 13,000 just in case there's unforeseen circumstances, you know, kind of contingency as they dive into our system to install this.
$13,000 that don't need no more discussion. Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to award the replacement of the utility emergency communication system to Energenics in an amount not to exceed $13,000. All those in favor say aye.
Can I ask one quick question? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Brian, I noticed in the memo that there's a $575 a month charge. Is that for the system, and that'll obviously be ongoing? And what were we paying in the past for our copper line? I imagine.
This is actually cheaper than our copper line.
Really?
So it seems like a large dollar amount. I think the monthly cost prior to this, I'd have to double check with Jeremy. It was like $670. So it is a reduced cost. I can definitely get you the details of that if needed, but I do know it's less than what we currently pay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Number 11, items for next agenda. If you have anything for next agenda, give us a call. We'll get it on. Number 12, closed session items. During the meeting, the village board of the Village of Ashwaubenon may convene into closed session pursuant to the language written in 12A. I need a motion to go into closed session.
Motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Motion and a second to go into closed session. Roll call, please.
President Kardasky.
Yes.
Trustee Service.
Yes.
Trustee Paul.
Yes.
Trustee Zerbal.
Yes.
Trustee Atkinson.
Yes.
Trustee Krieger.
Yes.
And Trustee Flukie.
Yes.
Okay, we're going into closed session.
This conference